This is a performance-based project for Franciscan University of Steubenville, EDU 513, Models of Teaching, with Dr. Mary Catherine McVeigh, and I am Julie McGregor of the Pennsylvania Cyber Charter School. For my project, the model I used was Design Questions for the Art and Science of Teaching, and our text, Classroom Instruction That Works, by Robert J. Marzano, Deborah J. Pickering, and Jane Pollock. My literature source was the 9th grade text from the Pennsylvania Cyber Virtual Classroom, Elements of Literature. The strategies I have chosen to highlight in this performance-based project are questions and cues, identifying similarities and differences, non-linguistic representations, cooperative learning, and homework and practice. I will start with questions. At the start of each class session, I have a question for the students to consider. Usually this question not only asks for their opinion about a topic or issue, but gives them a clue about what our lesson for the day will be. Today's question is, do you think time travel is possible? Today's lesson will revolve around evaluating style, and we are going to talk about Sound of Thunder, a short story by Ray Bradbury. This is an interesting tale of time travel that is enjoyed by most of the students in my classes. First, we will review vocabulary from the story and play a short game of Jeopardy to do that. The students enjoy this game. They need to look at the definition on the whiteboard, find the correct word, then they raise their hand and they get to ask, in a form of a question, what that word means. I have found that this is an enjoyable way for students to review vocabulary and makes them think about words in a different framework. This story deals with the idea of cause and effect, and we have discussed this topic in depth in previous lessons, but we will review it again today. The events in this story are all based on cause and effect. One event causes another, which causes another, and so on. A cause is the reason something happens. An effect is the result. The next strategy I will discuss is cooperative learning. First, I will review with the students the overall idea of what will be happening in the breakout groups. Today, I have some websites for the students to try. They will allow them to look and draw conclusions about some of the issues that Bradbury uses in his story: dinosaurs, time travel, and the chaos theory. Today in class, we will be broken up into 3 groups that will investigate a different aspect of the story. Students will have about 10 minutes to research the topic and discuss it, and then bring back to the whole class an answer to the question from their group. Before we leave for breakout rooms, I review the rules, and students do have the rubric for this activity. There will be a facilitator, a recorder, and a timekeeper in each of the breakout rooms. Group 1 will investigate, do dinosaurs exist? Group 2 will look into the possibility of the chaos theory. And Group 3 will decide if time travel is really possible. After about 10 minutes, the groups will return to the main room and discuss their findings. After this discussion, I will pose another set of questions to the class to have them think, hopefully at a higher level. If time travel really were possible, where would you go? Would you choose the past or the future? Would you be afraid of changing something important? The next strategy I will discuss, and it will be used twice in my class, is non-linguistic representation. As a class, we will review the plot continuum that we have been working on this year. Students will be asked to add parts of the plot to the diagram on the whiteboard. The students also have a copy of this non-linguistic representation in their files that they can complete for homework. After we have reviewed the 5 elements of the plot, we will now go through the story, Sound of Thunder, and decide how each part relates to our specific story. The first is exposition. The second is to list the events of the story. As we review the plot, questions are asked that will require students to consider more than simple plot details. Which is better for describing the awesome qualities of the time machine? A literal description of what the machine looks like, or the sensation of being in it, as Bradbury describes? Why? As we continue to go through the events leading up to the climax of the story, students review the cause and effect that happens within this particular story. Eccles sets off a chain of events when he sees the dinosaur. What happened? The discussion about cause and effect continues. When we get to climax and resolution, we spend extra time on this particular idea of climax. Students often have a difficult time pointing it out in a story. The turning point is when the reader finds out what is going to happen to the main character. The turning point is, as I like to refer to it, the point of no return. Finally, we come to the conclusion of the story, and the students must decide how the story ended. They also discuss whether it was the way they wanted it to end. Strategy 4 is discussing similarities and differences. Now it's time to use the second non-linguistic representation that will help us compare the similarities and differences between an excerpt from Jurassic Park and A Sound of Thunder. Students are asked to think about a few different aspects of the story and use these literary ideas to complete the Venn diagram. Today we're going to talk about imagery, diction, figurative language, mood, and tone. We know that the topics of Jurassic Park and Sound of Thunder are similar, but did the authors write about them in the same way? What was different? What was the same? Students will take turns adding to the compare and contrast diagram on the whiteboard. They also have a copy of this worksheet so they can make notes on it. This will be completed as a homework assignment. The last strategy in my project is homework and practice. As a part of class each day, we review some of the main ideas covered. These are usually universal literary ideas as opposed to particular plot questions. Today's questions are: what is figurative language? What is mood? What is diction? What is cause and effect? Students need to send a note answering one or two of these questions, whatever I happen to decide that day, and that is how I dismiss them from class. When they have sent me the correct response to one of the questions, then they are able to be dismissed. Of course, before we're dismissed, it's time for homework. Our homework tonight is going to be to finish the Venn diagram, review the plot diagram from class so they are confident in the different elements of the plot. They will also complete an assessment in our learning management system to check their knowledge of the last 3 sessions that we have worked on. This is the end of my project. Thank you so much for listening and watching.